Welcome back to another episode of Ask the Attorney. I'm your host, Alex Alexander with Client Focus Media. Today, I'm really excited to bring Lisa McCrystal with the Wharton Law Group. You can find them online at whartonlawgroup.com. Welcome, Lisa. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. How are you?
Excellent. I'm short, bald, and incredible. So we have that going for us, and that's good. So we spoke a little bit just before we came on, and the law firm being Wharton Law Group. You guys are based out of Oviedo, and you guys have quite the lineage going on there, right? So that the total total time in law is over 50 years, but the company itself, how long has the company been around?
I believe she being my mom, the Wharton of Wharton Law Group, formed it in 1980.
Gotcha. So a couple of years.
Just a few, yeah.
Okay. So you're growing up basically in a law or lawyer-esque household. Is this what turned you into the lawyer you are today, or what was the turning point when you decided you're going to go to law school?
Actually, I didn't go to law school until rather later in my, I guess, life. I went in my 30s, as did my sister, and we both we worked for my mom, both as paralegals. My mom does fiduciary litigation and construction litigation and real estate transactions. And so after I went to law school and my sister went to law school, we each kind of took over half. We like to make the joke that the two of us make one of my mom. So I handle all the fiduciary litigation and estate and trust, and she handles all the real estate.
So for the individuals out there, and there are a few who don't understand what fiduciary litigation is, obviously two words, right? One being money, one being litigation, which is going to court and that kind of thing. Tell us a little bit about this.
Fiduciary has a little bit of a different role in the legalese. Fiduciary is when you entrust somebody to handle your money, such as an agent under a power of attorney, a trustee of a trust, or a personal representative of an estate. And in the most simplest terms, what I do is when that person you entrusted with your money does something wrong, I go back in and try and get the money back and correct those wrongs. More often than not, it happens after the wronged individual has passed away, and I'm dealing with the family members. But I'm very fortunate in that I get to kind of get the bad guys, and not a lot of civil attorneys can say that.
So when it comes to litigation, you are a true litigator. And really, I say this a little bit tongue-in-cheek, but understand that so many people nowadays, they don't litigate a lot, right? There's because the tendency really is to, for good in most scenarios, is not to litigate, but to settle. So in your tenure, since you've been doing this, is there a whole lot of true litigation with what you do, or are you able to work things out prior to going to court?
Well, I want to say first and foremost that I believe a truly gifted litigator or any good litigator always tries to settle. Litigation doesn't benefit anybody except really the attorneys. So if you're able to settle or have some sort of meeting of the minds, that's always the goal. And from my perspective, it's also always the goal to try and work as best as you can with opposing counsel. It's not personal. It's your job. You're advocating for your client on your client's behalf. And so I don't really see a point in being adversarial with my adversary. Unfortunately, this belief isn't as widely shared anymore as it used to be when, I guess, a couple of decades ago when my mom was really litigating. I still try and do that today, but it's a very interesting atmosphere. I will leave it at that in the litigation sphere. And no, not a lot of attorneys practice fiduciary litigation. It is a very special subset of attorneys, and I'm very fortunate that I kind of lucked into this area of law.
Excellent. What you said about the difference between actually going to court and not going to court, litigation, non-litigation. The fact that the only people who really win in that would be the people representing, right? Because they're charging fees to be there and the time and that kind of stuff it takes. So maybe if you could give one word of advice to anybody out there. I mean, first and foremost, if you're having these kind of problems, we want you to get a hold of Lisa right now. That's the thing, the very first thing. But if there's a word of advice before they need you, what would that be? What would you get? What kind of information would you tell somebody who is in business or who has an individual who is representing them in a fiduciary manner? What's your words of advice to those people?
Well, before you appoint anybody with that power, just make sure you trust them. I would limit the amount of people that you inform that you have given the power to the individual. And I would also just encourage people, if you're having a dispute, over a trust or an estate or a power of attorney, reach out to your family member. Nothing is more important to me, obviously, than family. And, lawsuits come and go. Your family's always going to be there. So just try and work it out together before, just immediately jumping the gun and filing a lawsuit, because a lot of times the drafting attorney will actually hear concerns and, work with you to try and to prevent litigation before it occurs in the future.
I like what you said. Family really is first. So I want to thank you very much for what you do. I want to thank everyone out there for tuning into this episode of Ask the Attorney. If you would like to learn more about Lisa McCrystal from the Wharton Law Group, obviously go to whartonlawgroup.com or right here at iwannabuzz.com. Do something good for yourself and do something good for others.